The poverty of power. Have you ever wondered why some men rise from nothing while others stay trapped even with everything handed to them? It's not luck. It's not fate. It's mindset. The invisible empire that rules every life on this planet. You've been told that poverty means empty pockets. But what if I told you? Poverty starts long before that. In your thoughts, your posture, your silence, your fears. You think you're poor because you have nothing. But the truth is darker. You have nothing because you think like a servant. Society never needed chains to enslave you. It only needed comfort. They taught you to fear loss, to praise humility, to wait for miracles that were never coming. They built an invisible cage around your mind and called it being realistic. While you prayed for change, the powerful moved in silence, rewriting the rules you were told to follow. That's how control is built, and not through violence, but through belief, Machiavelli once said. Men are so simple and so subject to necessity that he who deceives will always find someone who will let himself be deceived. That's the tragedy of modern life. People deceive themselves. They kneel mentally before anyone who looks stronger, richer, or louder. They trade freedom for comfort, truth for approval, and power for pity. But here's the reality most will never face. The world doesn't pity the powerless. It feeds on them. Every time you beg for sympathy, you announce that you can be controlled. Every time you wait for permission, you surrender the throne that was already yours. You were not born poor. You were programmed to stay poor. You were taught to serve, not to command, to believe in scarcity instead of abundance, to lower your eyes when you should have raised your standards. But today, that changes, because in this war, the battlefield is your mind, and your enemy is your obedience. This isn't a motivational speech. This is psychological warfare. A step-by-step breakdown of how to dismantle the lies you were raised on and rebuild the mindset of a ruler, even if the world still calls you broke. Welcome to the truth they never wanted you to hear. Your poverty ends the moment your obedience does. Poverty is a mind virus. Poverty doesn't start in the wallet, it starts in the mind. Before a man ever becomes broke in reality, he becomes bankrupt in belief. That's the truth no one tells you, because if you ever understood it, you'd stop being controllable. A virus spreads quietly. You don't see it, you don't feel it, until it's too late. The same is true for mental poverty. It infects your thoughts, your habits, your self-image. It convinces you that success is rare, that power is corrupt, and that comfort is the ultimate goal. It kills your hunger and replaces it with excuses. This is how the system wins, not by taking your freedom, but by teaching you to fear it. From a young age, you're programmed to think small. You're told to be grateful even when you're struggling, to stay humble even when you're capable, to wait your turn when the world was never built to give you one. They tell you money doesn't buy happiness, but it does buy control. And that's why the people who preach contentment are never the ones who are powerless. The poor man's biggest curse isn't lack of money, it's the lack of aggression to change his condition. He waits for luck, for timing, for miracles, while the rich man creates them. The virus whispers, "You can't," and once you believe that, you've already lost the battle before it begins. The truth is, every empire starts in the mind. Before Alexander conquered nations, he conquered his fear. Before Tesla changed the world, he refused to think like it. Every legend was once a man who refused to inherit the mental poverty of his surroundings. Look around. Most people are trapped in invisible cages made of their own beliefs. They'll mock ambition, label confidence as arrogance, and call comfort peace. But peace without progress is just disguised decay. You can't stay still in a moving world. If you do, you're already falling behind. To escape this mental virus, you must first destroy your attachment to victimhood. Stop identifying as unlucky. Stop measuring your worth through other people's success. Stop repeating stories that justify your weakness. Every excuse you tell yourself becomes a brick in the wall that traps you. The cure is ruthless awareness. Every time you catch yourself saying, "I can't," replace it with, "I will find a way." Every time you feel envy, use it as energy to improve yourself. Every time you feel fear, walk toward it, because fear is the gate to your next level. Mental poverty doesn't die easily. You must kill it daily. It will come back in the form of doubt, laziness, and social approval. But remember, the world respects one thing: movement. Not talk, not potential, not dreams. Movement. If you move differently, think differently, act differently, you'll become what most people never will. A man who refuses to be infected. A mind immune to mediocrity. A soul that cannot be bought, pitied, or controlled. Because real wealth isn't money, it's mental sovereignty. And once you own that, no one can ever make you poor again. Power is a performance. Power is not what you have, it's what people think you have. It's perception, precision, and performance. The strongest man in the room is not the loudest, the richest, or even the smartest. He's the one who knows how to perform his power, without ever showing all of it. Every powerful person in history understood this. Kings wore crowns not just for decoration, but for projection. Their robes, their thrones, their silence all were weapons of performance. Because power, when performed correctly, creates belief, and belief creates obedience. You see, the mistake most people make is thinking that power is something you get. It's not. Power is something you act like you already have, until the world adjusts to your script. You don't wait for validation. You behave like the authority. You don't chase attention. You make your presence magnetic. And you never explain yourself, because explanation is the language of the powerless. Power has its own rhythm. It's slow, deliberate, and unpredictable. It thrives in mystery and collapses under desperation. That's why powerful people never reveal too much. They speak less, move less, but when they act and the world listens, look at the greats: Julius Caesar, Napoleon, Genghis Khan. They didn't rule just with armies. They ruled with aura. They mastered theater of dominance. When Caesar walked into a room, people stood before he spoke. Why? Because they felt his command. That's performance. Even today, it's the same. The CEO in the boardroom, the politician on stage, the influencer on camera, they're all performing versions of power that the audience wants to follow. If you look uncertain, they doubt you. If you look composed, they trust you. If you look unstoppable, they obey you. This world is a stage, and survival belongs to the actors who know their role. You can either perform strength or be cast as the weak. That's how social hierarchies form, not through fairness, but through perception management. When you walk into a room, your posture speaks before you do. Your silence carries more meaning than your words. Your eyes, your timing, your reactions. They all send psychological signals that decide whether you're a leader or a follower. Most people leak insecurity through fidgeting, over-talking, or seeking approval. The powerful do the opposite. They control space, control tempo, control energy. Power is not arrogance. It's calm dominance. It's not shouting, it's making silence heavy. It's not fighting. It's making others hesitate to fight you. It's not proving, it's positioning. But here's the secret. Performance must be rooted in truth. If it's fake, it breaks under pressure. If it's real, even a whisper can sound like thunder. That's why internal strength must come first. Confidence without competence is just acting. Competence without confidence is wasted potential. You need both, substance and stagecraft. Start performing power today. Walk slower. Speak less. Maintain unbroken eye contact. Don't justify your choices. Don't explain your plans. Let people feel that you know something they don't. Make them curious, not comfortable, because power is not given. It's assumed. And once you start performing it, the world will begin to reflect it back to you. That's how kings are made, not through birthright, but through belief. And the man who masters the performance of power doesn't need to ask for respect, and he commands it. The poor man's trap. The world doesn't trap you with walls anymore. It traps you with comfort. That's the poor man's prison. A life that feels safe but secretly kills your potential. The poor man doesn't even realize he's trapped because his chains are invisible. They're made of routine, distraction, and fear. He wakes up tired, scrolls through other people's success, complains about his luck, and tells himself he'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow never comes because the trap isn't outside him. It's inside his mind. The poor man believes he needs permission to begin. He waits for motivation, opportunity, or a sign from the universe. But the truth is, no one's coming to save him. The trap is built on that illusion, that someday, somehow, things will magically change. The system feeds this illusion perfectly. They sell him dreams, lottery tickets, cheap dopamine, short-term entertainment. They keep him busy enough to forget he's wasting his time, because the poor man's labor fuels the rich man's empire. And as long as he's tired, distracted, and broke, he'll never rise. The poor man's trap is not poverty of money. It's poverty of direction. He wants everything but commits to nothing. He studies motivation but never applies it. He starts 10 things but finishes none. He confuses movement with progress. And when he fails, he blames the world instead of adjusting himself. You see, poverty loves blame. It loves victimhood because it keeps you small. It whispers, "You can't win because the system is rigged." And yes, the system is unfair, but the difference between those who rise and those who don't is this: winners learn to play the rigged game better than anyone else. The poor man wants the prize without the process. He wants the respect of kings without their discipline. He wants the power of the rich without enduring the pain that builds it. He doesn't study strategy, he scrolls motivation. He doesn't guard his time, he sells it cheaply. And every day he tells himself, "At least I'm surviving." But survival is the lowest standard a man can accept. The trap tightens every time he chooses comfort over growth. When he watches instead of works. When he argues instead of learns. When he consumes instead of creates. It's not one big mistake, it's 1,000 small surrenders. But here's the truth they'll never teach you. Escaping the trap isn't about luck. It's about awareness. Once you see the cage, you can break it. Once you stop seeking validation and start building value, the game flips. You stop thinking like a poor man and start acting like an architect, designing your rise brick by brick. Stop thinking in days. Think in decades. Stop chasing approval. Chase mastery. Stop saying one day, start saying day one. The poor man's trap is comfort disguised as peace, and every time you choose discomfort, you weaken the walls around you. Because no one escapes the trap by accident. You escape by decision, and the moment you decide to outgrow mediocrity, you stop being poor, even if your pockets are still empty. Wealth isn't money, it's momentum. And the man who builds it even silently is already richer than the world can measure. Think like a king. A king is not defined by his throne, he's defined by his thinking. You can take away his crown, his castle, even his kingdom. But if you don't touch his mindset, he'll build it all again, stronger, smarter, and far more dangerous. To think like a king is to operate from authority, not approval. Most people live waiting for permission to speak, to act, to dream. The king doesn't wait, he decides, because he knows that indecision is just another form of weakness. Where others ask, "Can I?" the king declares, "I will." Thinking like a king isn't about arrogance, it's about awareness. It's understanding that life is a battlefield of minds, not muscles. Every interaction is psychological chess, not emotional chaos. The man who reacts loses. The man who observes, calculates, and moves with precision wins. The king doesn't chase validation. He creates influence. He doesn't fight every battle. He picks the ones that shape empires. He knows that energy is his greatest currency, and attention is his sharpest weapon. That's why a king's calm is more intimidating than another man's anger, because silence used with purpose is louder than any roar. Look around. The world is full of peasants dressed as leaders. People who seek attention instead of respect, comfort instead of challenge, and applause instead of achievement. But kings? They move differently. They think long-term while others crave short-term wins. They make decisions based on vision, not emotion. They invest their energy where it multiplies, not where it fades. A king understands leverage and not force. He doesn't need to dominate every room because his presence already does. He doesn't argue because he knows words are weapons that must be used sparingly. He studies human nature, not to manipulate but to master interaction. Because true power lies not in control over others but in control over yourself. When you think like a king, you stop seeing problems. You see patterns. You stop chasing opportunities, you create them. You stop fearing loss because you understand that loss is just the price of evolution. You begin to realize that the throne you seek is not built with gold but with discipline, clarity, and detachment. The king's mind is his fortress. Every day he fortifies it with focus, wisdom, and strategy. He knows emotions are servants, not masters. He trains them to serve his vision, not sabotage it. And when the world throws chaos his way, he doesn't react and he recalculates. To think like a king, you must separate yourself from the noise. Stop explaining, stop defending, stop begging for understanding. Most people won't get your path because they were never meant to walk it. Your silence will confuse them. Your discipline will intimidate them. Your vision will isolate you, but that isolation is the birth of sovereignty. Because here's the truth. You don't become a king when the world gives you a crown. You become one when you stop needing it. When you realize your thoughts shape reality, your words shape perception, and your actions shape destiny. You no longer play the game like a pawn. You design it like the player, and that's what separates the common man from the ruler. The common man reacts to the world. The king recreates it. Detachment makes you dangerous. Attachment makes you predictable. And predictability makes you weak. The moment someone can control what you crave, they can control you. That's why true power begins with detachment, the ability to walk away from anything or anyone without losing yourself. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop depending. It's the art of being fully committed, but never emotionally enslaved. The man who masters detachment becomes untouchable, because nothing outside him can shake what's inside him. Most people live like slaves in golden cages. They're chained to opinions, validation, relationships, comfort, and possessions. They think they own things, but those things own them. They say, "I can't lose this." And that's exactly why they do. The moment you need something too much, you lose negotiation power. You start to bend, to please, to compromise. You sell your peace for approval, your freedom for familiarity. But the detached man, he doesn't chase. He attracts, because he's not desperate for outcomes. He's prepared for all of them. This world bows to the man who could have everything but doesn't need anything. When you no longer seek control, you gain it. When you stop begging for loyalty, you command respect. When you stop fearing loss, you become the one others fear to lose. Detachment is not coldness, and it's clarity. It's knowing that emotions are powerful tools but deadly masters. When you detach, you see life as it is, not as you wish it to be. You stop living through illusions of permanence and you start moving with purpose. Look at warriors, monks, and kings throughout history. The common thread wasn't wealth or strength. It was detachment. They could sacrifice comfort for conquest. They could lose battles without losing composure. They could be surrounded by chaos yet remain centered like stone in a storm. That's what makes detachment so dangerous. It's psychological armor. When you can stay calm while everyone else panics, you become a leader by default. When insults don't touch you and outcomes don't control you, people begin to wonder, what is he made of? That mystery gives you leverage. The attached man reacts. The detached man observes. He studies, calculates, and moves only when timing serves him. Because he understands that patience is the sharpest form of aggression. Detach from people who drain you. Detach from the need to explain your vision. Detach from the illusion that peace is found in others. Peace is built internally, through control, not comfort. Detachment doesn't make you emotionless. It makes you strategic. You still feel, but you choose when and how to express it. You still care, but never at the cost of your clarity. And when you live like that, nothing owns you. Here's the paradox. The moment you stop clinging, life gives you more to hold. Because the universe trusts the man who won't crumble when things disappear. He is grounded, centered, and free. And freedom is the ultimate weapon. So become the man who can walk away from everything and still remain whole. Because the one who needs nothing can control everything, turn pain into power. Every great transformation begins with pain. Not comfort, not calm, not luxury. Pain. It's the fire that forges kings, the storm that awakens warriors, the shadow that shapes strength. But most people run from it, and that's why they stay weak. Pain is not your enemy. It's your initiation. It's life's way of asking, how bad do you really want it? Because power is never handed. It's earned through endurance. The difference between the ordinary and the unstoppable isn't luck or talent. It's how they respond to pain. The weak numb it. The strong name it. They look pain in the eyes and say, "You're not here to destroy me, you're here to transform me." They don't escape it through distractions or excuses. They dissect it, learn from it, and convert it into fuel. Every scar you carry hides a lesson. Every heartbreak hides a breakthrough. Every failure hides a version of you that's tougher, sharper, and wiser. But only if you face it instead of fleeing from it. You can't build resilience in comfort. You can't build dominance in ease. If you want power, you must embrace the pain that others avoid. Because the truth is, like pain is the price of evolution. It breaks your illusions, burns your weaknesses, and exposes what's real. Think of the gym. Resistance builds muscle. The same law applies to life. Emotional resistance builds power. Every betrayal strengthens your discernment. Every setback deepens your patience. Every loss teaches you detachment. But here's where most people fail. They personalize pain. They say, "Why me?" And the moment you say that, you lose control. Because pain was never personal, it's universal. It's the one language every great person had to speak before the world listened to them. Socrates had humiliation. Alexander had betrayal. Tesla had isolation. Prophets, kings, thinkers, warriors, and all were carved through pain. They didn't pray for lighter burden, they built stronger backs. When you stop running from pain, it starts working for you. It becomes your compass. It shows you where your limits are and where they must be destroyed. It reveals who's real and who's temporary. It turns emotion into awareness and awareness into wisdom. You want to rise? Then stop cursing your struggle. Study it, channel it, transform it. Because the moment you stop seeing pain as punishment and start seeing it as power, everything changes. The fire that burns others will forge you. The rejection that breaks others will refine you. The pain that silences others will give you a voice that commands attention. Remember this. Comfort is a slow death, but pain is rebirth. It's not here to stop you. It's here to strip you of weakness, illusion, and dependency, so the real you can emerge. So when life hits you, don't ask for it to stop. Ask for the strength to endure it. Ask for the vision to use it. Because every hit you take now is building a weapon that will one day make you unstoppable. Pain doesn't end you. It introduces you to the version of yourself you were always meant to be. Rule yourself. Before you rule a kingdom, you must first rule yourself. Because if you can't control your emotions, your habits, and your mind, the world will control them for you. Every empire that fell, every leader that broke, every genius that disappeared into madness, they all lost the same war, the one within. To rule yourself means to become the master of your own impulses. It means thinking before reacting, acting before complaining, and deciding before doubting. It's not about dominance over others. It's about discipline over chaos. Because the truth is, most people are not defeated by the world. They're defeated by their own lack of self-command. They wake up when they feel like it. They quit when it gets hard. They talk more than they execute. They chase comfort like it's freedom, when in reality comfort is the slowest poison ever invented. The man who cannot rule himself will always serve someone who can. That's the silent hierarchy of life. You can be rich, educated, even talented, but if you can't control your desires, your anger, or your attention, then you're just a slave with expensive tastes. Self-rule begins with awareness. It's the moment you start observing your own patterns like a strategist, not judging them, but studying them. Why do you procrastinate? Why do you seek validation? Why do you fear silence? Every answer reveals a weak point in your fortress, and your job is to fortify it, daily. To rule yourself, you must train your mind like an army. You can't let every emotion be a general. Anger commands, you pause. Fear attacks, you hold the line. Desire tempts, you discipline it. This is how kings are forged, through psychological warfare against their lesser selves. When you rule yourself, nothing external can truly shake you. People can betray you, but you stay centered. Plans can fail, but you stay adaptable. Life can wound you, but you use the pain as armor, not chains. Because your peace no longer depends on what happens. It depends on how you respond. Ruling yourself also means mastering time, not letting time master you. You learn to structure your hours like a general plans a battle. Every morning becomes a campaign. Every goal becomes territory to conquer. You build habits that serve your mission and destroy ones that weaken it. Because freedom is not doing what you want. It's having the strength to do what's required. The world is full of men who want to rule others, yet they can't even rule their own mind for a single day. They chase control but live in chaos. They speak of discipline but are enslaved by distractions. They talk of greatness but crumble under pressure. Why? Because they've never fought the hardest battle, the one against themselves. Self-rule is the foundation of real power. When you command your focus, you command your future. When you rule your reactions, you rule relationships. When you rule your routines, you rule results. The ultimate conquest isn't to dominate nations. It's to dominate the voice inside your head that says, "Stop, wait, it's enough." because that voice is your real enemy. And once you silence it, truly silence it, you'll rise above 99% of people. So before you seek to rule the world, learn to rule your mind. Because the man who conquers himself has already conquered everything. So now you understand this war was never about money, fame, or power over others. It was always about mastery over yourself. The mind is the throne, and whoever sits on it rules your life. If fear sits there, you'll live small. If laziness sits there, you'll live forgotten. But if discipline sits there, you'll live like a king. Machiavelli said it best. He who controls himself controls fortune. Because power doesn't come from your environment. It comes from your inner command. You can lose everything, wealth, people, reputation. But if your focus, your silence, and your will remain, you'll rebuild it all, stronger. Remember this. The poor man waits for opportunity. The powerful man creates it. The weak man reacts to life. The strong one designs it. This world doesn't reward good intentions. It rewards strategic control. Control of thoughts, emotions, and energy. You were never meant to live as a servant to circumstance. You were meant to command your reality. Every second you waste complaining, doubting, or envying, someone sharper is using that same second to build dominance. Stop apologizing for wanting power. Stop calling your hunger arrogance. Because the truth is, those who bow politely to weakness die quietly in mediocrity. From this moment forward, act like power itself. Speak less. Move deliberately. Guard your emotions. Let the world wonder what you're planning, not pity what you've lost. Your silence is strategy. Your control is your crown. And your discipline is your destiny. You don't need permission to rise. You just need control. Because the one who rules himself will eventually rule everything.